Hey everybody, and welcome back to our Dark Souls Solaire playthrough on the PC with the DS Fix mod, 1080p 60 frames per second. When last we left off, we did something. What did we do? I think we killed Gravelord Nito and we ran back up here. And now we've got our Divine Sunlight Straight Sword fully upgraded, and we can progress forward with the game. We're going to head down to New Londo Ruins and get the very large ember so we can continue to upgrade the shield. Although we may not, we're probably not going to tackle the Four Kings, obviously, because we don't have the ring from Sif, so we can't get to them. So, let's see here. We do have a little ways to go on upgrading the armor set. I did want to have it all upgraded before the final battle, even though we won't really need it. But let's do that. Let's head on down to New Londo Ruins. We'll not actually get to the Four Kings during this part of the run, but that's okay. Oops, a little stuttering right there. It's quite an imperfect game as a PC port, which we've talked about before. You know, it just... They released it in the same state that it was for the consoles in terms of the graphics and performance, and that was obviously considered unacceptable for more than one reason. Today's drink of choice is coffee, hot, black, plain, nothing in it. The way it should be dranken. Boy, I hate the past tense of drink in that sense. We know how to use, say, drank, but what do you say when I have drunk? That's a difficult word in English, isn't it? Alright, so we did use up some of our transient curses to... We made a mad dash, basically, for the... What was it? What did we come down here for? We needed something down here. I can't even remember what it was. Oh yeah, the green Titanite shard. It was a guaranteed drop, so we ran down here to pick it up real quick. We don't have the covetous gold serpent ring. If we did, I might pop it on here. But at the same time, 7 transient curses, which is now 6 because we used one, is going to be plenty. No problem. We can make it through here even if we die once or twice. We can still come back through, even if no one drops any for us. But we're bound to get 1 or 2 drops by the time we make it and get the floodgates opened up. The good news is we can kill them in 2 shots, and 1 shot if we two-hand, which is always awesome. And that guy's down in the ground, and boom. And we're much better equipped to handle the damage, because you notice they're not nearly doing as much damage to us this time as they were last time. I've always thought of those ghosts as sort of female. I don't know why. It seems like they have long hair, which is more of a female thing in general. We don't need the parry dagger, so we'll skip that. But I would like to get rid of the Banshee before she cries out. Oh, I forget about this dude. This lady. This thing. This beast. 1 lightning spear should do it, hopefully. Nope, but 2 will do it. And then when we're able, it would be a good idea for us to start dumping off our sunlight medals on the Warriors of Sunlight Covenant. Sunlight Warriors Covenant, whatever it's called. Because we do have 4 sunlight medals at the moment. We may need to do some co-op to get some more medals, just so that we have enough to get the Sunlight Spear unlocked. I think what we have to give 10? Is it 10? I think it's 10. Yeah. I was thinking, like, where are they? I know they're supposed to come out now. If you walk away from them, if they're too high up, as they come towards you, they'll slowly lower to the ground. So that'll take care of that problem if they're too high up. Now, if you do kill one, and it drops an item in an area where you can't get to, then you're just, that's it. You just can't get to it. I'm going to let this Banshee cry out because it'll call all of them right here, and that'll allow us to kill them all. Although I always get hit on my way up that ladder right there. There always seems to be a ghost that hits me on the way up the ladder, no matter what I do. I just can't seem to take care of all the ghosts. Watch it happen again. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and get my coffee ready here in the French. See, I got hit twice. Sometimes I get hit 3 times. That would be thrice. But who says thrice? Alright, Ingward or Ingwald or whatever your name is. Give me the key. Thank you.
But
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, shut up. Okay. The good news is I usually don't get hit sliding down since we're going much faster. Interesting to note the green shoulder pads on this. It almost looks like you know, patches of grass or something if you look at it. I mean, from a lore standpoint, from a story standpoint, there we go. What is that exactly? Is it grass? I mean, it's green. Is it just some sort of fabric dyed green? Who knows? We'll probably never know. I don't think it's ever explained. And at that rate, I think one thing that people don't think about... let me pour some coffee here before I continue. Excellent. Don't fill it up too much. There we go. One of the things that a lot of people don't consider when they talk about the lore and story behind a game is whether or not the developers even know the answer to the questions they're asking. Oftentimes we ask very complicated, very specific questions that, I didn't really need this, that we don't really think all the way through. Like, for example, what is the green stuff on here? Where did it come from? That's a question the developers may be aware of, but when we ask questions about, you know, what's the background to this, or where did this character ultimately come from, or how did this character get from here to here, and all this other stuff, I think in many cases we're asking questions that the developers themselves haven't even considered. Like, they just, it's a question that they didn't think about because they didn't need to. They were just constructing the world and built it the way they did, and they made to put certain characters in certain locations just because it was convenient and easy, and they didn't actually think all the way through why the character is there, or how the character got there, or, you know, all these other issues. You know, oftentimes there'll be a merchant in the middle of seemingly nowhere in a game, and questions come up as to, you know, why would a merchant be there? How in the world could a merchant make money in this random spot, this random dangerous wilderness location? How does this merchant get food or water? You know, where does this merchant get their merchandise from? Like, who brings it out there? All these questions we tend to ask about games that ultimately, sometimes it just comes down to, well, it's a video game and it was put in there to make it gamey. Good coffee, good, awesome. When I say that, what I mean is that they put this into the game not because of lore or the story or to make the world believable. They put it into the game to make it a game. You know, in many games you need merchants so that the player can buy and sell items and get equipment that they need, or reagents, or whatever else that they may need in the game to be able to unload the items that they don't need, to buy extra healing potions or whatever. And sometimes, just because of the way the game is structured, you end up having to put one of those merchants in a seemingly random wilderness location that, from any logical, reasonable standpoint, it would just be totally stupid to put, you know, to set up shop there. Like, no merchant would ever set up shop in a dangerous wilderness location where hardly anyone ever comes out, because you just wouldn't make any money, and you couldn't get more merchandise because no one would bring it to you. But from a game standpoint, from a developer standpoint, it's more of just we put this in there because it's a game, and in terms of the game, we needed a merchant to be here. Now, one of the best examples of that is save points. Because when you think about save points, they're meta, I don't know how people prefer it to be pronounced. They're meta concepts. The save point, you know, it exists in the game. You can oftentimes walk into or onto a save point and interact with it in the game, but from the perspective of the player in the game, what is that save point? Like, imagine you are actually the player in the game. When you walk onto that save point and interact with it, what are you actually doing in the game? Well, you're not actually doing anything in the game. It's a metagame concept of saving the game. Now, some games have done a better job of this. Instead of just having like a little spot where you walk on it, press A, and then choose save game, some games make it so where it has some lore or story significance. Like, take for example the 3D Metroids. Whoops, that was bad timing on my part. Say for example Metroid Prime. You walk into this area, or even in Super Metroid, and you download data to a machine. So from the perspective of the character in the game, from the perspective of Samus, you're doing something lore related, story related. It makes sense. It fits the environment. It actually fits in the world of the game. Other than the fact that you might be choosing which save file or something. But other than that aspect, when they put it into a game that way, it actually makes sense and fits the story. For example, some early RPGs had it to where instead of just saving on a random spot, instead you went and talked to somebody and you told them about your journey, and they recorded your journey in a book. Like, I remember one game, I think it was one of the Ease games, I can't remember. You basically went to a priest or a bishop in some church or religious building, and he asked you if you would like to record the details of your journey. And that was actually you saving your game. Now, from a metagame perspective, it makes sense. You're saving the game, you know, you're writing the data to memory. But even from the lore and story perspective, it still made sense because you're inside the game, you're telling another character in the game about your adventure and what has happened so far. So that managed to actually tie the mechanic of saving your game into the story and the environment of the game world, which I thought was really neat in a way that most people probably don't even consider. But to me, I thought that was just so clever that it all made sense. You didn't just have to think, oh, well, this is just a game save thing. It's a thing games do. It actually made sense in the context of the game world. And not only did it make sense, kind of like, you know, Samus downloading data into the machine, but it fit with the times and the style of the game and everything. It just completely fit in every possible way. And so does the saving mechanic in Metroid Prime. I mean, it's got that technical aspect where you're standing in that machine. The machine is downloading the data. It acts just like when you get your upgrades. It's very familiar and it makes sense. So it fits stylistically in terms of the story. It fits in terms of everything. And it's just really nice when they do that. Now, in the Souls games, including Bloodborne, some people like to call it the Soulsborne community or Soulsborne or whatever. But you see that the saving is done automatically. There is no active saving. You don't go and talk to a character. You don't bring up a menu. You don't, excuse me, you don't choose a save file and then create multiple saves and all that. It's done automatically for you. And that is done for you not purely out of convenience, let's just say that. In many cases, when games autosave, it's done for your convenience. It's done to make things easier for you. Like, for example, when Skyrim autosaves, you can save it yourself at any point in time, but when Skyrim autosaves, it's doing that to save you from forgetting to save. However, when Dark Souls autosaves, it's doing it for your benefit sometimes, but it can also be quite the drawback. It can hurt you a lot when it autosaves. Like, if you're stuck in a situation where you have a ton of souls and you're low on health and you're low on Estus, and then the game autosaves, it kind of screws you over. Like, there might have been a point at where you would have preferred to just shut the game down and start over from a previous point, because you kind of ruined the point you'd made it up to until then, but the game doesn't really allow you to do that. It autosaves basically to screw you over in some cases. The autosave can really hurt you in this game, as much as it can help you. But one thing is that, whoops, I timed that incorrectly. It is always nice when the game autosaves because you don't have to consciously remember it. A lot of older games would not autosave. And we're talking games that had extremely long storyline segments, RPGs that involved a lot of invested time and effort and inventory management and leveling. And so you could play a couple of hours and you were so engrossed in the story that you didn't realize that you were forgetting to save. And suddenly you die in the story and then you realize, uh-oh, I just lost, 2-3 hours of progress because I forgot to save. So in that regard, I have a great appreciation for autosave, especially in long involved RPGs like, Skyrim or The Witcher 3. Games where you could lose so much progress if you'd forgotten to save recently that it would actually discourage you from playing. That's what happened to me. Many older RPGs on the computer went unfinished for me because I died at one point and forgot to save for a while. And I told myself that I would come back to it later, and I ultimately never did. Or I did come back to it later, but I would do the same thing again. I would again forget to save for a while and die in a different spot. But RPGs are that type of game where if you forget to save and die like that, and then you don't play it for a long time, you pretty much feel like you got to start from the beginning again. Like, you don't want to start an RPG from like 12 hours in if you've taken 6 months off from playing it, because you have no idea what's going on. You're not familiar with your own characters and your level progression. You're not quite sure where you are or where to go or what to do. Even in games that have like a journal feature, it's just that feeling where if you're starting in the middle of something, you almost just feel like this disconnect from the game, like it's not yours. And so in that regard, I can't tell you how many times I've found myself starting over in an RPG, and then I only make it so many hours in. I end up quitting the game for a while for whatever reason. I get distracted, another game comes up, I'm busy with school or work. Then I come back to it like even weeks or heck months later, sometimes years later, and I'm like, wow, I have no idea what I was doing, where I was going, what my characters are doing, what my plan was, so I'm just going to start over again. Oh, I think I blocked that thing from hitting me. That does almost nothing to him, so that's not worth wasting. Well, here we go. Oh, shoot. Mr. Explodey Head. Aw, why'd you have to send another one after me? Oh. Yeah, be careful. That thing can break your equipment very quickly, as well as slow down your progress. And done. We've opened up the shortcut now. I just wanted to get all the rest of the Titanite chunks out of here. And then we'll kill these other dudes here in the hopes that they'll drop a Titanite chunk. I haven't used this lately on any regular enemies, other than that one back there, so let's try it. Wow, didn't even knock him out of his move there. Yeah. Anyway. Whoops, that was a queued up attack, actually. Not keyed up, but a queued attack. I'd hit the button multiple times, and so it actually conducted that attack despite the fact that I hadn't hit the button again. It had actually queued up from previous button inputs. Alright. Well, since we use Beatrice, if we go in human form, she will be here to assist us with the Four Kings. However, I find her to be more of a hindrance and a handicap, and she's just not worth it in my opinion. And we have 4,000 or 45,000 souls. Oh wow, this is the last bonfire we rested at. Okay, I guess that makes sense. I'm not going to worry too much about the health. We're going to stack into faith, because that'll not only improve our spells, our castings, but it'll also improve our damage from our weapon. And then we can head to the Undead Parish, where we'll talk to Andre of Astora and continue the regular upgrade path for our shield. You can put a divine element on the shield, but there's pretty much no point. It's useless to do that. Trust me, follow the regular upgrade path. That way you get the stability benefits and all that good stuff that comes from it. Stability alone is worth upgrading your shield. Alright, let's see here. Modify, that's it. Plus 11. Excellent. And then we're going to go to the Undead Asylum, because we do want to get the Titanite slab. Oh wow, all we need is the Titanite slab. Awesome. Actually, since we don't need anything else other than a Titanite slab for the shield, now we can begin upgrading our armor with everything we pick up. We don't need to save anything for the shield anymore at this point. What we might do is get a bunch of souls, pop a whole bunch of souls, and then just buy a bunch of large Titanite shards. Or, you know what might be a better idea, now that I think about it, is actually, let's do the DLC, and we'll pick up plenty of large Titanite shards from the DLC area. Yeah, that should give us plenty. Let's make this our new bonfire. Oh, and I almost forgot, let's kindle this thing up to 20. Let me go ahead and pause my microphone so I can clear my throat here, so you don't hear me clearing my throat on and off constantly. Alright, and we're back with the microphone unmuted. What I used to do is just kind of openly clear my throat and not care, and then I would go back and editing, and I would edit out all the coughing, hacking, sneezing, throat clearing. But I've since realized that that is a very cumbersome task. It is so time consuming for me to actually have to sit through and listen to the entire video. So then I figured out a faster way to do it. I could actually look at the waveforms in the audio, and I would actually spot when I was coughing or hacking. I could tell from the waveform, but still I had to scrub through the entire waveform kind of in a zoomed in view, and that still took quite a long time. So ultimately, I don't take much time editing these playthroughs. I basically just fit them together, put the audio commentary underneath it, the volume levels and all that, the volume levels, all that stuff is already auto adjusted. I basically have a template. It's basically called Foxeo Plays Video Template for Sony Vegas. I open that up, I then save it and rename it to whatever whatever current playthrough I'm doing, like Dark Souls Solaire episode 6. Then the volume levels and my watermark is already there and in the right spot. Everything is already placed there just as it's supposed to be. So everything's already set up. So there's very little that needs to be changed. I just, trim the beginnings and endings of the episode, the video, and the commentary. Make sure the audio commentary is lined up with the video. I make a few little small adjustments, make sure it's in 60 frames per second, all that stuff. I do the fades at the beginning and the ending, and then pretty much after that, all I do is just render it out. And then it's ready to go. I don't even watch the entire thing. So that would be a big time investment, sit down and watch 45, 50 minutes of every single playthrough every time I do one. Now, there are other people that put significantly more time into editing their... I don't need to trade the Sunlight Metal for a White Titanite chunk. I've got plenty. Although, is there something you can trade for a Sunlight Metal? I thought there was. Oh, I think it's the red moss clump. Darn it, I don't have any. I think that's what you can trade for a Sunlight Metal. Oh well. We are also going to do the Painted World, just for fun, so let's go pick up the item for that as well. Gotcha. And then we'll hit the Stray Demon on the way back. And then usually it's about this time, if I'm wandering around here for too long, that Oscar Restorer will come down and attack you. Like he doesn't even wait. Hey, buddy. Oh, wow, I shifted from my weapon two-handed to bringing out my shield and parrying. I did that pretty quick. The shield that he drops is one of the best shields in the game to use on the boss here because of its high magic block. Just so you know. So it's interesting that they give you that. They know what they're doing. They definitely knew what they were doing having that shield drop right here. And they knew what they were doing with this guy right there hiding too. If you come from this direction, you won't see him until he hits you. If you come from the other direction, you'll see him from a good distance away. So no biggie. Red Titanite chunk. For the... Okay, that's the fire upgrade path, that's right. Okay. I was trying to think of what that was for. I generally follow the standard upgrade path with almost all of my characters. It's very unusual for me to follow a different path. Alright, we came full circle right there. Which is not actually where I meant to go. Alright, let's try... Oh, Torch Hollows. Let's try going this way. Yeah, this is the way I meant to go. Okay. Oops. It's interesting to note that from the very beginning of the game, you can see the Stray Demon. I had seen him once, I think, early on in my time with this game, but I assumed that that was the boss that we fought. I guess I didn't really pay close enough attention to notice that he looked slightly different and had a different looking weapon and all that. I just thought it was the same boss, because they look similar enough. And of course, being able to parry is so useful for these guys. Yeah, but that is something I wanted to talk about today, which we've already been talking about, is the metagame concepts that appear in-game. For example, we talked about saving your game and how that's a metagame concept that can be somewhat grafted into the gaming experience. Another metagame concept that people oftentimes don't think about is this right here. Divine Sunlight Straight Sword plus 10, weapon type is Straight Sword. This standard longsword belonging to Solaire of Restorer is of high quality, is well forged, and has been kept in good repair. Here's a question. How do you know this? Where are you reading this? What is it? Is this engraved onto the sword? How do you know that it's called a Divine Sunlight Straight Sword? This is a metagame concept. Item descriptions, where do they come from? How is your character reading this item description? He's not. Actually, you are. You're reading it. It's provided by the developers for you, the player. It's not for the actual character in the game, because it doesn't make any sense. How would the character be reading an item description? Same thing like in The Witcher 3, when you have explanations in the game, a help menu. Even, in fact, this entire menu in here is a metagame concept. You know, the character's not opening up a menu in his world. That's you, the player, opening a menu. Another metagame concept that's really common in RPGs is this right here, your inventory. Take a look at this. There is no possible way you could ever have all of this stuff on you. I mean, you just couldn't. You couldn't carry all this stuff on you. It would weigh infinitely more than a human being could ever carry. But it's on you, and you don't have a weight limit for convenience sake. Even in games with a weight limit, if you look at the items that you're carrying, it's humanly impossible to carry all that stuff. I mean, it's almost as if your weight limit is limiting you to, you know, 800 pounds of equipment. Well, obviously, you're not going to be able to run around with 800 pounds of equipment, roll and dodge and fight and, you know, all that stuff. So even when games have a weight limit, it's still not reasonable. Now, if you guys can find an example of a game with a weight limit that's actually reasonable, let me know. But when I see games with weight limits, they're still way up there, and that's a good thing, because who wants the weight limit to be reasonable? If the weight limit were reasonable, it wouldn't be very fun, because it would just, you wouldn't be able to carry anything. Run behind him as quick as you can, get your health back up, and then you're good to go. I wonder what lightning does to this guy. Oh shoot, I forgot to switch over to my talisman. That's actually not bad for lightning spear. It's not even the uh-oh. Uh-oh, go. There we go. Wrath of the Gods, how about that? That's alright. Nothing great. Oh, I just did a spell cancellation without even trying right there. I didn't even mean to. This is a little risky though, because at a certain point you get locked into your spell, and if you realize you're about to get hit, there's nothing you can do about it, you're stuck. I hope he keeps doing that. That's easy. I can keep hitting him with that. Lightning Spear apparently does some good damage, so apparently this guy is at least somewhat weak to lightning. Although, it didn't appear to be terribly weak to Wrath of the Gods, so maybe it's more a lightning thing and not just a divine thing. And done. Easy mode. He didn't even hurt me. I took 0 damage. Titanite slab. Good stuff right there. Good stuff. Interesting to note that there's actually, most people don't even realize this, there's a small fog wall right here during the boss fight. Otherwise, you could actually run away from the boss in the middle of the fight. But the fog wall, if you notice it, and most people won't notice it while playing, but the fog wall is a clear indicator to you how to get out of there. Like, many people will finish that fight and then kind of get stuck in there and not realize there's a ladder in that little cove right there. Because it is like a little groove, and it can be hard to see the ladder there. A lot of ladders in this game are almost hidden in plain sight. But if you notice the fog wall, that should be a clear indicator to you. Okay, a fog wall during a boss fight, that means that's where I go after the fight. Gotta love the falling through the floor thing. It doesn't happen anywhere else in this game. Well, I mean, you fall through the floor in various places, but it always kills you. The Bed of Chaos being a prime example. And an example of the worst boss, and quite possibly the worst boss in the series. Worst boss design, I should say. Worst boss encounter, how about that? Oh, I just about ran off the edge, I gotta be careful. And there we go. So now we have the slab, which is good. You just roll your way down. And we can use the slab to max out our shield, which is great. And now we can go to either the Painted World or the DLC. I think we'll hit the DLC first so we can get some large Titanite shards to continue to upgrade our armor. We'll also need chunks later as well. Oh, don't need to upgrade, or don't need to repair that because we're about to auto-repair it through an upgrade. Boom! Plus 15 shield. Let's take a look at what the stability is on it. Actually, I should have looked at the stability to see if the stability went up on the final upgrade, because if it didn't, then I could have held that Titanite slab for my armor piece. 71 stability. Whew! That's the stability of mini great shields, pretty much. That's amazing stability for a medium shield. Very, very good. Kind of like the Baldur shield or the Hollow Soldier shield. Or the Silver Knight shield or Black Knight shield. Quite a few medium shields in this game with incredible stability. Probably too much. They did kind of fix that issue in Dark Souls 2. You don't see as many overpowered medium shields in Dark Souls 2. Unfortunately, Dark Souls 2 has a lot of issues. But one thing I haven't really talked about much, and I don't know if I've ever even said this, but other than the fact that there aren't enough shields with 100% physical block, I think they did a good job in Dark Souls 2 of toning down the medium shields. They were just... Medium shields in Dark Souls are just too powerful. I mean, you're looking at these. There are like 5 medium shields in this game that have stability equal to a great shield, block 100% physical damage, and have a variety of other block effects on them. It's just... They're just too powerful. I'm sorry, they are. They're just too good. I mean, the way medium shields are in Dark Souls, there's almost no reason to use a great shield. The medium shield's pretty much good enough as it is. We got the Crest of Artorias, so while we're down here, what do we want to do next? DLC or Sif? Let's do the... Well, we'll have to go down here to do the DLC, so... We haven't killed the Hydra yet and freed What's-Her-Face. Wonder how easy he'll be to fight with this setup. Oh wow, that does not do too much damage to him considering it's a fully upgraded weapon. Yeah, he must be resistant to Divine. But fairly weak to the Miracle. Yeah, don't get hit by that. And we'll get a Demon Titanite, which we do not need and won't use. So there are many metagame concepts. The user interface is a metagame concept. Really, the idea of health is a metagame concept. I mean, in-game, what is the player looking at to determine their health? Or the character, not the player. You, as a player, are looking at the health bar. But what is your character in the game looking at? Well, obviously nothing. There is no way to determine health. There's no magical number floating above his head that he can look at anytime he wants to. Even the concept of mana is quite metagame in its concept, because if you think about it, what is meta in that case? I mean, what is mana? What is mana? Is it somehow wizards know that they have this pool of resources and... Oh, I accidentally... Gosh darn it, I actually switched to heal. The one thing about the Xbox 360 controller I hate is the D-pad. It's terrible. You can accidentally hit the wrong direction so easily. Oh, shoot. There's a green grass, or the grass crest shield back there. We don't need to bother with that. We're not worried about it. That's the door to Havel, for those that don't know. You can get to Havel through this route. If that's your thing. The awesome thing is the Hydra can kill the golems with its magic water spit. Or you can simply use lightning spears, which they are apparently fairly weak to. Take that, and that. If you need to take the magic upgrade path for intelligence, then you can go ahead and farm these 4 golems here. They do respawn, and they have a chance of dropping blue titanite chunks. Just go ahead and get yourself the covetous gold serpent ring first, and then go at it, guys. Ooh, still hit me. Yeah, the water spit is incredibly hard to dodge. It just has such a splash effect. But the closer you are, the easier it is to avoid it, because it does have a limited, close-up ability. It's a ranged attack. The closer you are, the easier it is to actually just hide under it, pretty much. Alright, 2 shots to take off a head, not bad. Ah, that head knocked me down, that sucks. I like to face him with my shield up in case he tries to hit me, and then just rotate the camera backwards so I can see where the heads are going. Oh, that wasn't what I wanted. The good thing is about the PC version, the increased graphical fidelity allows you to easily see the drop-off point in the water, like right there. Very easy to see on my machine here. Hopefully it's just as easy to see after YouTube's compression, but... Oh, come on, I definitely hit him at least once. I disagree with that. Oh, come on now. I went right through that head. There's no question my sword just phased right through it. There we go. How many heads are left? 2? 3? 2. Alright, let's try something. Let's see if this will work. Yep. Oh, come on. He's got a little tiny fraction of a tiny bit of health left. And boom, that's it. Or not. Hang on here. Hang on. I got an idea. There we go. Can't miss with that, huh? Interesting that the Hydra drops the Dust Crown ring. How did the Hydra get it? We didn't pick up the Rusted Iron ring, which isn't a big deal. We'll just run along the edge here. If you stick to the edge, you can usually run a little faster. It will sometimes register you as actually running on regular ground. Like right there. Right there too, see? Get to the golem. Might have to quit out and come back in. Usually the golem... Actually, it looks like it will make us quit out and come back in. Not sure why sometimes you have to and sometimes you don't. That is odd. That's one thing I don't like about how the game does stuff like that, because when you visit an area and there's nothing there, with no clear indication that anything will ever be there, what reason would you have to visit it again? None, honestly. You would have no reason to come back here. You would run back here and go, wow, there's absolutely nothing back here, and then you would just leave and never come back. So, you know, having nothing there at first, requiring you to return after just leaving the area or quitting the game, kind of sucks, in my opinion. Uh-oh, I'm hit. I knew it, I saw it coming. This guy's tougher than the normal golems. Golems, however you want to pronounce it. But the good news is, if you have the Rusted Iron ring, you can easily dodge him. Or you just have to be careful and play it safe. Just don't kill Dusk by mistake. If you keep attacking after the golem dies, you can accidentally hit Dusk and kill her. So metagame concepts are interesting from the standpoint of design. They're just accepted. I mean, they're not accepted in other mediums. You know, imagine if you had a horror movie where the entire time the horror movie was playing, there was a there was an interface where it told you how scared the character was, or how frightened the main protagonist is, and how close the protagonist is to you know, losing control or something like that. That would obviously be weird and completely out of place, but in a video game it makes sense. And in that regard, I'm not criticizing games for it, not at all. I'm saying games are a different medium. That's why games should never attempt to emulate movies, and we should not compare games to movies. Kind of like when you hear really dumb, ignorant developers lying to you about how 30 frames per second is more, quote, cinematic. They're lying straight through their teeth. They know it's not more cinematic. They're just trying to find an excuse for their bad design. That's really all that is. So don't fall for that crap. Anybody who compares video games to movies, 9 times out of 10, the comparison is completely invalid. It is not the same thing. Not at all. Alright, so now we can head up to the Duke's Archives. But we're coming towards the end of our time here in this episode. But let's head to Londo, where eventually we'll want to kill the Bonfire Keeper there to get her Firekeeper soul. With her soul, that'll take us to +5. With the soul from the Duke's Archives, that'll take us to +6. You cannot get to +7 in a single run. I haven't found any way to do it. If you know how to do it, let me know, and I'm pretty sure +6 is the max Estus Flask power you can get to in New Game without moving on to New Game Plus. Because I believe to get to +7, you have to kill all the Firekeepers, and then there's no Firekeeper to give the 7th soul to upgrade your Estus Flask. You need at least one alive to give the soul to upgrade. Actually, we could kill her right now, because we won't need to we won't need to warp back from this bonfire. We only need to warp to it. Poor girl didn't have a chance. And that's it. But now we can't warp from it, but that's fine. We weren't planning to. Alright guys, I'm gonna go ahead and leave it here, and when we pick it up next time, we'll head to the Duke's Archives just far enough in to get the pendant. We'll return to where we fought the Hydra and head into the DLC area. Then eventually after that, the Painted World, and we'll continue on with the Lord Boss Souls. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe here at Foxeo Plays. You can also subscribe to my main channel at FoxeoGames. Links are in the description, as well as follow me on Twitter and Facebook and all that cool stuff. And I will see you guys next time. Oh, and hey, don't forget to like this video. It really does help out. And leave your comments below.